Johnny Hazard had learned in Bright City that silence was more dangerous than gunfire. He stood on the second-floor balcony of the Violet Edge, watching the street below with eyes that hadn't seen real sleep in 7 days. The warehouse district operation had gone smoother than expected. 2 days of surveillance, 1 night of violence, and the neutral ground was theirs. The Kravix had sent observers but no soldiers. The other syndicates had watched from a distance. Nobody interfered. That should have been a victory. Instead, it felt like bait. "Boss, you need to see this." Tony emerged from the office, a data pad in his hand. His shoulder was still bandaged from the battle, but he moved without complaint. Johnny took the pad and scrolled through the financial reports. The Violet Edge was pulling in steady revenue, better than expected, actually. The dancers were bringing in clientele from 3 districts. The bar was moving premium liquor, and the protection fees from nearby businesses were coming in without resistance. The warehouse generated income from storage fees and black market goods. "We're making money," Johnny said. "Yeah, too much, too fast." Tony leaned against the railing. "Every other organization in this city spent years building their territory. We took ours in a week, and nobody's pushed back. That's not normal. You think they're planning something. I think they're all planning something together." Johnny handed back the pad. The mathematics of organized crime were simple. When a new player emerged, the established powers either absorbed them or destroyed them. His crew had proven too dangerous to absorb, which left only one option. "Call everyone in. We need to talk." 30 minutes later, the crew assembled in the main bar. Vincent had been overseeing security upgrades at the warehouse. Lisa returned from a reconnaissance run through the market district. Rachel appeared from whatever shadows she'd been haunting. The new recruits lined the back wall, 3 humans and 4 aliens who'd signed on after word spread about the Violet Edge battle. Johnny recognized 2 of the humans. Danny Rourke was a former shuttle pilot with a gambling problem and a talent for logistics. Patricia Vance had worked security for a Grax mining operation until her boss tried to short her pay and ended up in the hospital. The third human, a wiry kid named Cameron Brooks, was barely 20 but could crack any electronic lock in the city. The aliens were more varied. A synth female named Sylth who'd been a chemist before developing a nasty combat stimulant habit. 2 Grax brothers, Mock and Trell, who'd been dock workers and muscle for hire. And a Thulian scholar called Ven who claimed to have connections in the city's information networks. Not exactly an army, but it was growth. "We've been operating for a week," Johnny began. "We took the Violet Edge, we took the warehouse, and we've had exactly 0 retaliation. Anyone else find that strange?" "Very," Ven spoke in the melodious tones of his species. "In Bright City's criminal hierarchy, territory disputes are resolved quickly and violently. The Kravix lost face when you defeated them. The other syndicates should be testing your strength. Unless they're coordinating," Lisa said from her perch on the bar. "Waiting for us to spread thin before they hit us all at once." Vincent cracked his knuckles. "Let them come. We held against 200 Kravix. We can hold again." "Maybe," Johnny paced in front of the assembled crew. "But this time they'll know our capabilities. They'll plan around our defenses. And they won't come at us with just 1 syndicate. They'll come with 3 or 4, all hitting simultaneously." "So what's the play?" Tony asked. Johnny stopped pacing and faced them. "We need 3 things. First, intelligence. We need to know what the other syndicates are planning before they move. Second, we need legitimacy. Right now we're just criminals who got lucky. We need to be more than that. Third, we need a name, something that means something in this city. I can help with intelligence." Ven stepped forward, his elongated fingers steepled in thought. "The Thulian information brokers owe me favors. I can call them in, but it will be expensive." "How expensive?" 10,000 credits, maybe more." Johnny did the math in his head. "Do it." "What about legitimacy?" Rachel spoke for the first time, her voice quiet but carrying. "Territory isn't enough. The syndicates control sectors because they provide services. Protection, goods, connections. We need to offer something they don't." "Like what?" Patricia crossed her arms. "We can't outmuscle the Kravix or outsmuggle the Variant cartel." "No, but we can outthink them." Johnny turned to Cameron. "You said you worked in the tech sectors before signing on. What's the biggest complaint you heard from business owners?" The kid considered. "Corruption, mostly. The syndicates charge protection fees, but half the time they're the ones you need protection from. They shake down honest operations and destroy anything that doesn't pay up. So we offer an alternative." Johnny's mind worked through the angles. We charge protection fees, but we actually protect. We create a zone where businesses can operate without getting squeezed by 3 different syndicates. We build a reputation for keeping our word. That's dangerously close to going legitimate, Tony said with a grin. We're still criminals, we're just honest criminals. Johnny looked at his crew. It'll make us different, that's worth something in this city. It'll also make us targets, Lisa pointed out. The syndicates won't like us disrupting their revenue streams. They already want us dead. At least this way we'll have businesses backing us when they make their move. Vincent nodded slowly. I like it. What about the name? The crew fell silent. A name mattered in Bright City. It needed to convey strength, purpose, identity. Johnny had been thinking about it for days, running possibilities through his mind during sleepless nights. The Union Underground, he said finally. The words hung in the air. Tony tested them silently, his lips moving. Vincent grunted approval. Rachel's expression didn't change, but she nodded once. Lisa smiled. Patricia laughed. I like it. Has a nice ring to it. We're not a gang or a syndicate. We're a group of individuals who chose to work together. Human, synth, Grax, Thulian, doesn't matter. You produce, you get paid. You fight, we have your back. The Union Underground, Ven repeated. Yes, that will resonate in certain circles. Then it's settled. Johnny raised his voice to address everyone. As of today, we're the Union Underground. Spread the word. Let every business owner, every independent operator, every criminal with ambition know that there's a new option in Bright City. We're hiring, we're protecting, and we're not going anywhere. The crew dispersed to their assignments. Ven left to contact the Thulian brokers. Danny started reorganizing the warehouse inventory. Patricia and the Grax brothers began reinforcing the Violet Edge's defenses. Cameron disappeared into the basement to upgrade the security systems. Johnny retreated to his office and poured a drink. Through the window, he could see Merchants Row coming alive with the artificial evening. Neon signs flickered to life. Workers headed home while night shift employees headed out. The city's pulse continued, indifferent to his plans. His comm buzzed, unknown frequency again. Hazard, the same synthesized voice from a week ago. Union Underground. Interesting choice. You've been keeping tabs on us. I keep tabs on everyone, that's how I stay alive in this city. A pause. You've attracted attention, Johnny. The kind that gets people killed. I'm aware, you calling to threaten me or warn me? Neither, I'm calling to offer information. The Kravix, the Variant Cartel, and the Obsidian Hand are meeting in 3 days. Location is a neutral zone in the industrial sector. They're discussing the human problem. Johnny set down his glass. Why tell me this? Because you're interesting, you might even be useful, or you might be dead in a week and this conversation will be irrelevant. The voice carried a hint of amusement. Either way, I'm entertained. Who are you? Someone who's been playing this game longer than you've been alive. Watch your back, Johnny Hazard. The quiet is about to end. The line went dead. Johnny stared at the comm, his instincts screaming warnings. An anonymous benefactor with inside information was either a gift or a trap, and in Bright City, gifts always came with strings attached. Tony, he called out. The enforcer appeared in the doorway. Yeah, boss. We need to accelerate our timeline. The syndicates are meeting in 3 days. After that, I expect things to get loud. We're still recruiting. We've only got about 15 people total. Then we make every one of them count. Johnny stood and grabbed his jacket. I'm going out. There's someone I need to talk to. Want backup? No. This is a conversation I need to have alone. Johnny left through the back exit and moved through the alleys with practiced ease. Bright City's underbelly was a maze of passages and shortcuts, known only to those who'd survived long enough to learn them. He headed toward the merchant district, to a small establishment that catered to information brokers and gray market dealers. The Gray Archive was exactly the kind of place tourists never saw. No neon, no flash, just a reinforced door and a scanner that checked for weapons and warrants. Johnny left his pistol in a dead drop 2 blocks away and approached unarmed. The scanner beeped green. The door hissed open. Inside, the archive resembled a library more than a bar. Shelves lined the walls, filled with data crystals and hard-copy documents. Booths provided privacy for deals and exchanges. A Thulian woman managed the bar, her fingers dancing across a terminal as she tracked inventory. Johnny approached the bar. I'm looking for Sareth. 3rd booth on the left, he's expecting you. That was concerning. Johnny hadn't told anyone where he was going. Sareth was a variant, a species that resembled nothing so much as upright lizards with too many eyes. He wore expensive clothing and smoked something that smelled like burning copper. When Johnny slid into the booth across from him, those multiple eyes all focused at once. "Johnny Hazard, the human who broke the Kravix." Sireth's voice was sibilant and amused. "You've made quite the impression. Word travels fast. Word travels at exactly the speed I allow it to travel. I control 60% of the information flow in this city." He took a long drag. "Which makes me very curious why you're here. I need information on the syndicate meeting in 3 days. Ah, someone's been talking to you." "That same someone probably suggested you come to me." Sareth leaned back. "The meeting is real. 3 syndicates are discussing how to handle the Union underground. The outcome will likely involve your violent deaths." "What are they planning?" "That depends on what you're willing to pay." Johnny reached into his jacket and placed a credit chip on the table. 5,000, everything you know." Sareth's eyes examined the chip without touching it. "The Kravix want revenge. The Variant Cartel sees you as a threat to their smuggling operations. The Obsidian Hand simply doesn't like humans. They're proposing a joint operation. Hit both your locations simultaneously with overwhelming force. No survivors, no negotiations. When? 4 days from now, they'll meet, they'll plan, they'll strike." Sareth finally took the credit chip. "Of course, this is all contingent on them reaching an agreement. Syndicates have egos. Sometimes those egos prevent cooperation. Can you influence that? For another 5,000, I can ensure certain information reaches certain ears. Information that might make cooperation more difficult." Sareth smiled, showing too many teeth. "I can't stop the attack, but I can delay it, buy you time to prepare." Johnny produced another chip. "Do it. Pleasure doing business with you, Mr. Hazard." The Variant pocketed both chips. "One more thing, free advice since I like you, the quiet you've been experiencing. That's because the small syndicates are watching to see how the big ones handle you. If you survive the joint operation, you'll have recruitment opportunities. If you don't, the matter resolves itself." "Good to know." Johnny left the archive and retrieved his weapon. The streets felt different now, charged with impending violence. He'd bought time, maybe a week, maybe less. It would have to be enough. Back at the Violet Edge, he found his crew waiting. Ven had returned with information from the Thulian brokers. Lisa had completed her reconnaissance. Vincent reported that the warehouse was now a hardened position. Rachel simply looked ready for whatever came next. "Gather everyone," Johnny ordered. It's time they knew what's coming. The full crew assembled, original members and new recruits alike. Johnny laid it out plainly. The meeting, the joint operation, the timeline. Some of the new recruits looked nervous. The Grax brothers just grinned. Patricia checked her weapons. Cameron started calculating defensive scenarios. "We've got maybe a week to prepare," Johnny concluded. "That means we turn both locations into fortresses. We stock ammunition, we set traps, we prepare for the worst. And we reach out to every independent operator in our territory. Anyone willing to fight gets equipment and a share of the profits. This isn't just about us anymore. This is about proving that the Union Underground can survive." "What about evacuation plans?" Danny asked. "If things go south, do we have an exit strategy?" "No," Johnny's voice was firm. "We hold or we die. There's no middle ground. We run now, we'll be running forever. The only way forward is through." The crew dispersed to their tasks. Johnny watched them go, feeling the weight of leadership settling heavier on his shoulders. These people had chosen to follow him into what was essentially a suicide mission. The least he could do was give them a fighting chance. Over the next 5 days, the Union Underground transformed their holdings. The Violet Edge became a fortress, reinforced walls, automated defenses, overlapping fields of fire. The warehouse turned into a killbox with hidden positions and explosive surprises. Vincent worked 20-hour days installing systems. Cameron hacked into the city's surveillance network, giving them eyes on 3 districts. They recruited 12 more people. A mix of humans, synth, and one Kravix defector who'd been passed over for promotion and decided revenge was worth more than loyalty. The Union Underground now numbered 27, still outnumbered but no longer insignificant. Lisa trained the new recruits in marksmanship. Tony drilled them in small unit tactics. Rachel taught them how to kill efficiently and without hesitation. Vincent just demonstrated what happened when he got angry, which proved motivational in its own way. The businesses in their territory noticed the buildup. Some asked questions. Johnny met with each owner personally, explaining that trouble was coming but they would handle it. In exchange for continued protection fees, they guaranteed that business would continue uninterrupted. Most agreed. A few didn't, preferring to stay neutral. Johnny let them make their choice. The Union Underground wasn't about forcing loyalty, it was about earning it. On the sixth day, Ven received confirmation. The syndicates had reached an agreement. The attack would come at midnight, hitting both locations simultaneously. Numbers were estimated at over 300 soldiers across 3 syndicates, plus armored support. Johnny called his lieutenants to the office. Tony, Lisa, Vincent, and Rachel formed his inner circle, the core that everything else built around. "They're coming tomorrow night," he said without preamble. 300 plus. "They'll hit us here and at the warehouse at the same time. We can't defend both locations with our numbers," Tony pointed out. "We need to choose." "No. We need to make them choose." Johnny pulled up a map of the district on his terminal. "The Violet Edge is our headquarters, but the warehouse is our economic foundation. They'll expect us to defend the edge and abandon the warehouse, so we do the opposite." Lisa caught on immediately. "We fortify the warehouse and make the edge look defended. Draw the main force there while we hit them from the warehouse." "Exactly. We rig the edge with enough explosives to level the block, remote detonators. When they breach, we wait until they're committed, then we blow it." Johnny traced routes on the map. "Meanwhile, the main force at the warehouse uses the high ground and prepared positions to grind them down. They'll be expecting light resistance." "That's a lot of explosives," Vincent said. "And we'll lose our headquarters. Buildings can be rebuilt, people can't." Johnny looked at each of them. "We make our stand at the warehouse. We bloody them so badly that the other syndicates think twice before coming after us. And we prove that the Union Underground isn't just another gang. We're the future of organized crime in Bright City." Rachel spoke quietly. "The civilian staff at the Violet Edge, evacuated tomorrow morning. We'll tell them the building needs structural work. Give them a week's paid leave." Johnny closed the map. "Any questions?" "Just one," Tony said. "After we win, what's the plan? The syndicates won't just walk away." "No, they won't, but they'll be weakened. We'll have proven ourselves. And when the smoke clears, we'll have opportunities to expand that don't exist right now." Johnny smiled without humor. "This is just the beginning. We're going to own this city eventually. Tomorrow night is just the first real step." The crew spent the next 24 hours preparing. The Violet Edge was rigged with enough explosives to crack the foundation. Automated defenses were set to give the appearance of resistance. A skeleton crew of 3 volunteers would remain to sell the deception: Cameron and 2 of the new recruits who'd volunteered despite the danger. They'd evacuate through pre-planned routes the moment the attack began. The warehouse was transformed into a death trap. Every angle was covered, every approach mined, every position reinforced. Ammunition was stockpiled, medical supplies prepared, escape routes mapped but not advertised. Johnny walked the warehouse floor that afternoon, checking preparations and talking with the crew. He found Patricia working on a heavy machine gun emplacement. "How you holding up?" he asked. "Nervous, excited, terrified?" She didn't look up from her work. "Mostly I'm just glad we're not waiting anymore. The quiet was worse than the fighting." "I know the feeling. Boss, can I ask you something?" Patricia secured the last bolt and finally met his eyes. "Why are we doing this? I mean, really, we could take our profits and disappear, head to another city, start over somewhere safer." Johnny considered the question. "Because running means they win. And I didn't come to Bright City to lose." "Is that all?" "No." He looked around the warehouse at the crew preparing for battle. "It's because everyone here deserves better than what this city offers. Humans are treated like vermin, but so are Synth and Grax and anyone else without syndicate backing. The Union Underground is about proving that strength comes from cooperation, not brutality. If we run, that idea dies. If we fight, maybe it lives long enough to become something real." Patricia smiled. "That's a better answer than I expected. Don't spread it around. I have a reputation to maintain." That evening, Johnny stood on the warehouse roof with Lisa as the sun, such as it was through Bright City's smog, began to set. The sniper was checking her rifle, making minute adjustments to the scope. "You ever wonder what your life would be like if you'd stayed on Earth?" she asked. "Every day." Johnny lit a cigarette. "But I'd be bored. Earth is safe, clean, civilized. Everything's regulated and controlled. I'd have gone insane within a year. So you came to Bright City?" "Yep, to make something of myself, to prove I was more than just another human grinding through existence." He exhaled smoke. "How about you? What brought you here?" "Debt collectors. I built weapons for the wrong people. They didn't pay. I made my displeasure known. Earth got too hot." Lisa shrugged. Figured the frontier would be more forgiving. Turns out I was right, just not in the way I expected. No regrets? Not yet. Ask me again tomorrow night. Midnight approached with agonizing slowness. The crew was positioned throughout the warehouse, each person knowing their role. Johnny watched through Cameron's hacked surveillance feeds as 3 separate convoys moved through the city, converging on their targets. "They're coming," he announced over the comm. "Stay sharp. Wait for my signal." The first convoy hit the Violet Edge at exactly midnight. 30 vehicles, over 100 soldiers. They surrounded the building and began their assault with military precision. Automated defenses opened fire, creating the illusion of heavy resistance. Cameron and his team evacuated through the tunnels as planned, their job done. The syndicate forces breached the front door, the loading bay, the second-floor windows. They poured into the Violet Edge like a tide. Johnny waited until thermal imaging showed at least 80 hostiles inside the building. Then he triggered the detonator. The explosion lit up Merchants Row like a small sun. The Violet Edge collapsed inward, taking 4 surrounding buildings with it. Fire climbed into the artificial sky. The shockwave shattered windows 3 blocks away. 80 syndicate soldiers died in an instant. The survivors scattered, their formation broken, their command structure decimated. "First blood to us," Tony said grimly. At the warehouse, the second and larger force arrived. 200 strong, split between Variant Cartel and Obsidian Hand operatives. They'd left the Kraviks to handle the Violet Edge, not trusting their competence after the first failed assault. The syndicate forces approached cautiously, expecting light resistance. They got silence. The warehouse looked abandoned, dark and quiet. "It's a trap," someone shouted, but by then it was too late. The first soldiers triggered the perimeter mines, and the warehouse erupted in violence. Lisa's rifle sang from the rooftop. Every shot was a kill. Officers first, then heavy weapons teams, then anyone who looked important. The Union Underground's defensive positions opened fire, creating overlapping fields that turned the warehouse approach into a meat grinder. Vincent commanded the main entrance, a heavy machine gun chattering in his hands. Aliens fell in waves, their bodies piling up as they tried to advance. The Grax brothers held the east flank, their natural strength letting them operate weapons that should have required tripods. Patricia's gun emplacement swept the western approach, her fire methodical and deadly. Rachel moved through the warehouse's upper levels like a ghost, her knife and pistol claiming any soldier who made it past the perimeter. The Kravik's defector fought with savage intensity, settling old grudges with every alien he killed. The battle raged for 2 hours. The syndicate forces tried to flank, to suppress, to overwhelm through sheer numbers. The UG held every position, made them pay for every meter, refused to break. Johnny fought from the second-floor command position, coordinating defenses and filling gaps where the line weakened. A Variant squad tried to breach the north wall. He redirected 3 people to reinforce, and the breach was sealed in blood. An Obsidian Hand strike team reached the main floor. Vincent met them personally, and the strike team ceased to exist. Slowly, inevitably, the syndicate assault faltered. They'd expected a quick victory. They'd gotten a prolonged nightmare. Bodies littered the approaches, equipment burned, morale shattered. A Variant officer tried to rally his troops. Lisa's bullet ended his speech permanently. The remaining forces broke and ran, abandoning wounded and equipment in their haste to escape. Johnny watched them flee, his weapon still raised. Around him, the Union Underground held their positions, waiting to see if the retreat was genuine or a feint. "Cease fire," he ordered after 5 minutes of silence. "Check casualties, secure the perimeter, and get me a count of their losses." The crew moved with exhausted efficiency. Remarkably, they had lost only 2 people, one of the new Synth recruits and a human who'd taken a rocket to his position. 17 were wounded, but none critically. Against 300 attackers, they'd survived almost intact. "Boss, you need to see this." Tony stood at the warehouse entrance, looking at the carnage beyond. Johnny joined him and whistled low. Over 100 bodies lay scattered across the approach. Equipment worth millions sat abandoned. 3 armored vehicles burned where Lisa had hit their fuel tanks. "We didn't just win," Tony said quietly. "We destroyed them. Not all of them, but enough." Johnny surveyed the battlefield. "Then get word out. I want every information broker, every independent operator, every ambitious criminal in 3 districts to know what happened here tonight. The Union Underground held against 3 syndicates and broke them. We're hiring, we're expanding, and we're not afraid of anyone." The Thulian nodded and disappeared to spread the word. Dawn came slowly, artificial and gray. Johnny stood in the warehouse yard as crews began the cleanup. His comm buzzed, the synthesized voice again. "Congratulations, Johnny Hazard. You survived. We did more than survive, we won. For now, but you've made permanent enemies tonight. The syndicates won't forgive this humiliation." "Good. I'm tired of being forgiven." Johnny lit a cigarette. "Who are you really?" A pause, then, surprisingly, laughter. "Someone who might become an ally or an enemy, I haven't decided yet. But I'll be watching, Johnny. The Union Underground just became the most interesting organization in Bright City. Try not to disappoint me." The line went dead for what Johnny suspected was the last time. Whoever his mysterious benefactor was, they'd served their purpose. The rest was up to him. Lisa approached, her rifle slung over her shoulder. "What now, boss?" Johnny looked at the warehouse, at his crew tending wounded and organizing salvage at the city sprawling beyond. The Violet Edge was gone, but they'd rebuild. Bigger, better, more defensible. The warehouse was theirs, proven in blood. And the Union Underground's reputation had just spread across Bright City like wildfire. "Now we consolidate, we recruit, we expand carefully and deliberately," he smiled. "And we prepare for the next fight, because there's always a next fight in Bright City." Sounds exhausting. It is, but it's also why we're here. Johnny headed back into the warehouse. "Come on. We've got a city to conquer, and it's not going to conquer itself." The Union Underground had survived its first real test. The quiet was over. The war for Bright City had truly begun. And Johnny Hazard was just getting started.